I'm going to call this second part of the All Saints Church annual meeting to order and welcome you. My name is Mike Kinman. I'm the rector. My pronouns are he, him. It is phenomenal to have everyone here today. I want to thank you for coming. I want to welcome all those who are streaming us online around the world. Please turn and wave to the camera. You know you are an All Saints groupie and junkie when you are streaming the annual meeting from around the world. And we've also have some people who are home and sick, some of our staff, like Christina Honchel and others. And so if you are home and under the weather, we're glad you're with us this way. And we send our prayers and our love to you, and just rest and get well. It is wonderful to have everyone here. I want to let everyone sort of know the general stuff about this place, where the exits are. The restrooms are around over there. We have our action table, so please don't forget that. At all times we put our faith into action at All Saints Church. Today we are signing a letter of support for a Senate bill that will allow the Cal State system and the LA community colleges to provide about 1,500 units of housing for students who are homeless. 11% of students in the Cal State system and 1 in 5 students at LA community colleges have experienced homelessness at least once in the last year. This is a huge thing and something we can do something about, so that's what we're going to be doing. As always, this community is supported by so many things, by the huge amount and presence of the Holy Spirit, by the life and labor of everyone here, and by your financial giving, and you're going to hear more about that today. If you have made your 2019 pledge, thank you so much. If you have not, you are in luck, because we have lots of these pledge forms. It is super easy. Where is Marianne Ryan? Our interim director of stewardship and giving is here. She will hand one to you. We will get you a pen. And please, we want everyone to know that they're a part in every way of everything that's going on here at All Saints Church. So if you haven't made your 2019 pledge, it is absolutely not too late, and please do that. Continue to open this meeting with a prayer, so oremos. Omnipotente y eterno Dios, fuente de toda sabiduría y entendimiento, hazte presente con los que deliberan para la renovación y misión de tu iglesia. Enséñanos a que en todas las casas busquemos primeramente tu honor y tu gloria. Guíanos para percibir lo que es justo. Concédenos el valor para buscar y la gracia para lograrlo. Por Jesucristo nuestro Señor. Amen. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I want to open up with something that didn't make it into the agenda. As you know from the first annual meeting, we have 4 foundational goals that are going to be guiding our work in the foreseeable future. And you see these banners up here that represent those, and they involve envisioning our vision, values, and mission for the future, and supporting our staff so that they can equip us to do the work, and to provide welcoming space for ministry, and inspire leadership and connection in the congregation. Every year, the vestry and staff of All Saints Church go away for a couple days and do some really intense work that can't happen in the course of one vestry meeting. And we just came off of 2 days of really looking intensely at what are the values of All Saints Church. And so I want to invite our junior warden, Dana Jones, to come up and talk a little bit about what happened there.
Thank you. So as Mike said, this past Friday and Saturday, the staff and your vestry, including both the incoming and the outgoing classes, met together for our annual vestry staff conference. During our time together, we shared meals, prayers, and laughter, among many other things, ending the 2 days with the Eucharist. The vestry conducted a brief business meeting on Saturday in which we voted on the recommendation of the Junior Warden Nominating Committee, comprised of the outgoing members of the vestry, and Marianne will fill you in on that vote in just a moment. The vestry also voted to recommend Jamie Barnett to be ordained to the diaconate. Additionally, at the recommendation of the Building and Grounds Committee, we approved a no smoking policy for the All Saints Church campus, which will be made available to the parish and for which signage will be installed on campus. But the majority of the time, of our time together over these 2 days was spent beginning our work to identify, define, interrogate, and ultimately claim our core values that will be used to help frame our decision-making moving forward. As part of the work of the 4 foundational goals, which were rolled out to the parish at the first annual meeting on February 24th, we decided to embark on this agenda, beginning with a homework exercise to identify our own personal values. We then brought these personal values to the work of the 2 days, using the exercise to help us intuit the values of our organization. This is work that we will continue through the work of the Mission, Vision, and Values Committee, and the parish, of course, will be invited to participate in the coming months. Please come to the April 2nd vestry meeting to hear more about this work if you're interested. Also next Sunday, you may have seen in the service leaflet, we will be having an on-the-table forum. Marianne and I will be there, as well as leaders of the work on the 4 foundational goals, where you can ask any and all questions you may have around this work. And of course, we'll give you ongoing updates on social media and in our Saints Alive publication. And now I welcome up Marianne Ahart, your senior warden, to tell you a little bit more about what we did.
So this was probably the best vestry staff conference I have ever been to. It was absolutely an amazing experience. 2 things before I tell you our new junior warden. We have 3 of our 7 new vestry members here. I wanted you to have a chance to see them because we announced them at the first annual meeting, but they were sort of hidden behind banners and things. So we have Kelsey Heckman, Juan Mejia, and Eddie King. And the 4 that we're missing are Kimberly Hudson, Sarah Phillips, Rory Laudermilk, who is our junior or our youth representative, and Edna Trigg. And they all have very legitimate reasons for not being here. And the rest of the vestry is here, and they not only spent 2 days in a retreat, in a conference together. They had Eucharist last night, so they've been Eucharisted, so they could have, and they lost an hour's sleep, and they are still here. Let's give them a hand. As Dana said, 2 of the things actually we did at the business meeting was we honored Dana for her 2 years of being here as junior warden, which is And the other thing we did was I elected your new junior warden. Steve, would you stand, please? His wife Clara have been here for 2 years, is that correct? A little over 2 years. And Steve has been an executive in the entertainment business and brings that creative thinking and that big perspective, and from a different point of view sometimes, which is exactly, I think, why we need him and want him. And we welcome you, Steve. We're so glad you've done it. And now it is my great pleasure to turn this over to Gloria.
I had legitimate reasons for not being here too, but unfortunately for you, I showed up anyway. I brought a little prop with me. There is a scientific study which concluded that when a presenter is wearing a baseball cap, they are deemed to be 31% more sincere and believable than if they are not. That number goes down substantially if the baseball cap is red. I've had the privilege privilege of giving many financial and giving reports over the years at annual meetings, and you may find it hard to believe, but it's not easy making finances interesting or understandable. In fact, as Alan Greenspan once said, "If I turn out to be particularly clear, you've probably misunderstood what I said." I'm a person who is very much influenced by my environment, and the bad news is that I wrote these remarks while watching the Dodgers spring training game the other day. So I apologize for any inadvertent lapses into baseball lingo. I'm first going to talk about our winning season in 2018, and then discuss our prospects for the coming season. I'll be referring first to the document entitled 2018 Financial Annual Report. Well, actually, it's called 2018 Year-End Financial Report, which is on page 5. Your game program has notes relating to various line items in the budget, and I'm not going to go over each one of those. You can read them during the 7th inning stretch, which is also known as next service's sermon. There's a reason they're not putting me back on the vestry. First, on the income side, our receipts from season ticket holders came in within 1/3 of 1% of our budget. That's pretty phenomenal. Our single ticket sales, which is referred to as open plate or plate offerings, in the report came in almost $23,000 under budget, which tracks to lower attendance numbers at the church. Our main variance on the income side came from outside concessions. We had more film shoots in 2018 than anticipated, which brought us in more than $100,000 over budget in that line item. I encourage you to watch The Kids Are All Right, so they'll renew the season and continue filming at All Saints. All in all, our team revenues were $5.3 million for the year. This includes $250,000 in transfers from restricted funds, which was cash available at the end of 2017 and was moved into the 2018 budget. Over the last 23 years, each year we have had net excess assets which had been used for this purpose. Moving to the mission side, the main area in which we ended under budget was personnel, which of course is our largest line item. This is due mainly to the fact that we haven't been fielding a full team, even though we had budgeted for a full staff. Jim Laduha, our Director of Giving, declared free agency status last year. We have open positions in buildings and grounds and youth ministry, and have a vacancy in our associate organist position. Despite acquisition rumors throughout the year, those positions remain unfilled. And we had a fourth priest for about a half an inning, which was the time between when Antonio Gallardo was ordained and when we were thrown a curve and he was called to manage another parish. Additional savings in our mission side were realized in education, communications, administration, and buildings and grounds. It isn't reflected in our financials because it was funded by a special gift outside our budget, but I did want to report that Mike invoked the infield fly rule and reinstalled the urinals that had been removed from the men's restrooms. That's the one I'm most sorry about. The bottom line is that we slid into home plate way ahead of the point spread, did not need to use any of the funds accumulated from previous years, and ended the year with available net assets of $581,851. Of these funds, the vestry voted to allocate $10,000 to the Climate Change Restricted Fund, as we had done last year, and $31,851 to the Capital Projects Restricted Fund, which covers expenses that are not anticipated in connection with our capital and building. I next want to focus on our 2019 budget. I'll first refer you to our operating fund pledge history, which is on page 8. You can see that our revenue received over the last 5 years has stayed essentially flat, while our number of pledgers is decreasing. So we are losing some season ticket holders, but they're paying more for their tickets. This is not a pattern we want to see continue, and our giving committee is working hard to reverse this trend. I think having a full non-interim staff, which is our goal this year, will also result in positive changes. You will see also that the pledge delinquency rate has been going down from a peak in 2015 to a low in 2018 of about 4%, and that's also good news. I want to now focus on the 2019 budget, which is the separate handout. Many of you know that analytics is the newest thing in predicting baseball and player outcomes. What you may not know is that we've been using analytics for years in the use of our highly secret scientific formula for arriving at our budgeted pledge revenue number. We are projecting a pledge amount of $3,654,768 in 2019, which is a reduction of approximately $250,000 from last year's income. This line item includes late payments received from prior year's pledges, new pledges that we expect to receive this year, and renewals of 2018 pledges that haven't come in yet. We are counting on a certain percentage of those pledges renewing, thus Mary Ann with the pledge cards. So if you have not yet renewed your season tickets, it's not too late to do so. We've lowered the special gifts line item because last year we had almost $30,000 in one-time gifts given to close the budget gap. We also lowered our open plate to be consistent with reductions we experienced last year. Our endowment and quasi-endowment funds are up to about $2.75 million, and that translates to a slightly higher endowment income in our budget. The transfer from restricted line item is the transfer of the cash available from 2018 that I spoke of earlier, and has essentially enabled us to balance the 2019 budget. This is the largest amount we have ever transferred from prior year cash available. I believe 10 years ago or so, we had transferred $400,000 to $450,000 from prior years. The vestry did not balk and made a conscious choice to not be as conservative as we would otherwise be, with the hope that this one-time investment this year to get us fully staffed and fund our 4 goals strategic work would lead to more growth and higher revenues. Moving to the mission side, as you can see, the personnel line item reflects the largest change year to year in our budget. 2018 was a year of using pinch hitters and moving our utility players around to cover different positions. We had an interim music director until Wei Chung was named organist choir master last fall. And incidentally, he plays a mean take me out to the ball game on the organ. We're pulling in pinch hitters temporarily as we search for an associate organist. Mary Ann Ryan has been pitch hitting as our interim giving director. And we have truly a free agent in Nancy Necker. Wherever she might be. She has been working full-time in a volunteer capacity and serving as Congregational Development Director. She's done a phenomenal job, and we owe her a huge debt of gratitude. I think a Nancy Necker bobblehead Sunday would be appropriate. We only get Nancy for another few months, and then we'll actually have to pay for her replacement. The personnel line item also includes replacement of the 4th clergy position, filling the vacancy in our associate youth minister position, and insurance and cost of living increases. In order to balance the budget, also required cuts in various line items. These included cuts in professional expenses for staff, rector's entertainment, choir breakfast, adult education, podcasting and website development, and cuts to reflect savings in administration. There is included in administration a new line item of $50,000 to fund the 4 goals strategic work, which we have been hearing about. In our outreach budget, we eliminated all but the discretionary grants for 2019 and our program work. This is a reduction of over $62,000. So our total budget for Team All Saints in 2019 is $5,209,392. It's an ambitious budget and will require hard work in furthering the bold mission that this represents. We are in a solid place financially. We have no debt, total cash in the bank of almost $5.5 million, and investments of $1.75 million in Quasi Endowment and Endowment. And the best team owners in the world, all of you, whose continuous amazing generosity and commitment make us a pretty awesome faith community. And I know we're going to make it to the World Series this year. And the final good news is, it's probably lucky I was watching baseball last week instead of a press conference from the White House.
I think there's only one thing that can possibly follow Gloria. And that is something that is becoming a tradition here, which is the video annual report. Church canons say that we have to furnish the congregation with an annual report every year that looks back on what has happened in the year past. And we are so blessed to have the talents of just an extraordinary filmmaker, Keith Holman. So instead of killing a whole bunch of trees and giving you something to read, we instead almost kill Keith. And he spends, you would not believe how many hours he spends on this, and it is so worth it. So Keith, are you ready to hit play on this? And then it will move into kind of a sneak peek on where we are headed. Coming home to All Saints Church is not just about the familiarity of the past, but about becoming again. And we will not shrink back from the challenges of each moment, and we will hold each other when we get weary and catch each other when we fall.
To be made in the image of God is to
dreamers rise up.
I am tired of the injustices that divide.
Youth have their own voice.
Say God's got to rebuild. God's got to regather.
God is calling you to be part of the liberation.
My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail,
but again, I am thankful to God that some...
C.L. Franklin.
What this is about is turning over the tables, right? Turning it up, mixing it up.
I felt at once very small, and yet I also felt very important. Like my voice was important, and this march was better for having me there.
I baptize you in the name of God the... Yeah, I know. Son, you have bestowed upon your people the brightness of your light. the day of resurrection, and we are its witnesses. We will no longer keep silent. We will no longer live in fear. Go and tell. Go and tell. Go and tell. Alleluia. Amen. Together, we can build a home where everyone has a place at the table, where God's love, justice, and compassion are written on our minds and on our hearts, where nobody need fear, nobody need go in want, where there are no second-class citizens and no internalized depression.
I've only been a part of this community for 3 years, and I think the best thing you have all offered me is trust.
Over the years, being actively involved at All Saints has meant that my opinions have been challenged and my views have been expanded.
What a lot of people don't get about mental illness is that it is not about pushing through the pain. Your neurons are scrambled. I will never stop looking for ways to bring Eden to earth, especially for people like me. We all need to be vulnerable. Our vulnerability is our strength. Amen.
We are not called to avoid the storms. We are called to sail right into them. And we are called to trust. To trust God, to trust Jesus, and to trust one another. To trust that set on the sure foundation of loving kindness, there is nothing we cannot survive.
Joanne Bland became a freedom fighter that day in front of Clark's drugstore in Selma, Alabama. And because of that, more than 53 years ago, 11-year-old Joanne showed that deep commitment. She held the hand of her big sister, and she stepped onto the Edmund pedestal. After Joanne shared her story with us, our young people circled around her and they sang MLK by U2. And as they sang, drops once more began to fall on the face of Joanne Bland. Only this time they weren't her sister's blood. They were her own tears. Wiping those tears away, she looked at our choristers and said, "You are the ones we've been waiting for." I would like to introduce to you your director of music, Wei Chung Zhao Fong. Come on down.
You've got to shout and scream and confront and rail and get mad and love like no one is
the gift God gives us. It is the gift of us rejoicing
By the power of the
together.
Holy Spirit, keep us in your eternal life. Amen. The peace of Christ be always with you.
So say that with me. Joy anyway. Every day, God and the church are still weaponized against those among us who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual. We are blessed by the work of this amazing staff who works more hours than can possibly be counted. So would you please express your appreciation to the staff.
We have been inspired by the courageous witnesses of Dr. Christine Rice Ford and the many women who have stepped forward to share their stories.
I always believe no kinship, no justice, no kinship, no peace, no kinship, no equality. All these things are byproducts of the fact that we've forgotten that we belong to each other.
奉圣地、圣父、圣子、圣灵的名，阿门。Siéntense por favor.
There is no limit to our compassion. There is no limit to the love of God that can flow through us and which binds us together. The only boundaries to the music we have left to write are the boundaries that fear imposes and the limits of our imagination and willingness to love.
You guys are blessing it right now. This is how you bless it, is by playing on it.
Take as many clergy down as possible to be able to be present in the space to provide spiritual and emotional support to members of the migrant caravan.
Hay una historia sobre una persona que estaba atrapada en una casa durante una inundación. Esa persona empezó a orarle a Guadalupe para que la rescatara.
The word
Word was in the world, and the world came into being through the Word. Yet the Word.
We're celebrating the lives of the angels of the streets of Pasadena that are no longer with us.
Yes! What? Thank you!
Jesus came as an illegitimate and poor baby from the margins that made it difficult for the community to accept that he could be the Messiah. If Jesus had been a girl, would anyone have ever heard his message?
God loves bodies because our bodies are part of who we are. God is born this night from a body and in a body because bodies are wonderful and beautiful and powerful and good, and God's love for your body is mightier than any judgment. God's love for your body is greater than any seeds of unworthiness that have been planted deep inside you. Know that this night and every night that God aches to touch you.
Love welcomes. Love heals.
Love imagines.
Love transforms.
We know this because All Saints Church is where we have felt that love. God's inclusive love for the whole human family and all creation.
As the world around us becomes more divided,
as our leaders and far too many others see diversity
as something to be feared,
and not as an abundance of riches,
as not only more and more people, but the
very planet itself is crying out for healing.
The arc of history that bends towards justice is calling us to meet these challenges in new ways, to take the inclusive love of God that has been the heart of this community for generations and embody it and send it out into the world anew.
The world is calling us, and it is time.
It's moving day! And it's time for us to get ready.
We must get prayed up,
steady up, and suited up.
For us to answer this call for the present moment as powerfully and more as All Saints answered in the past, we must clarify our vision, solidify our community, equip those who support us, and turn this space into a sanctuary and a launching pad for the days, the months, and the years to come.
Joanne Bland told our young people last summer in the shadow of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where years before she had felt the blood of Bloody Sunday, together we are the hope. Today is bringing us new opportunities to meet ignorance with understanding, oppression with compassion, greed with generosity, to meet hate with the deep, abiding, welcoming, healing, imagining, transforming power of love.
The world is calling us.
And it's time.
It's moving day.
And it's time for us to get ready.
So, can you believe we get to come to church here? I mean, this is amazing. Keith showed me that video for the first time yesterday, and it's like, I was just crying all the way through it, and I'm crying all the way through it now. And it just is, I can't believe we get to do this together. It really is amazing. And so, first of all, again, thank you, Keith. Some of our staff is here. Can we just once again, can you stand up? And then this is all about all of us. This is all about you. And so just thank you all for being a part of this. And if there is, this has got to be the best thing in the world to invite other people into. So seriously, just think about who you can tell this story to. This video is going to be going up on YouTube, and just show it around and spread it. This is too good to be kept a secret. So please just keep coming and being a part of it and bring other people in. I want to invite Marianne and Gloria to join me up here, and we want to open this up for any sort of questions or thoughts you might have. We have about 10 more minutes. Can we have... Are these? Yep, they are. So if we could have 2 of these, yeah, Kelsey and Christine, great. Just sort of go around, and yep. I'll sit. Why don't you, Senior Warden, sit right here? Can we turn this off so it's not shining in your face? How do we? So what do we have? Questions, thoughts? Over here, John's got something. Or no, go ahead. Were you, Elizabeth? Yeah.
What happens with the endowment money? Is that for future emergencies?
Well, we have actually 2 types of endowment. One is pure endowment, which is held in perpetuity. So we don't spend the principal of that. But our endowment policies provide that 5% of the value of that endowment flows to the operating fund to help support the programs. The other form of what we call endowment is quasi endowment. Those are basically bequests that have come in that are not specifically endowed bequests. We have the full ability to use those, and our policy on that the vestry established many years ago is that we would allocate those. We would not put them into the budget to spend them on the year we receive them. We would allocate them and treat them as endowment for purposes of allowing them to grow, and again using the 5% on an annual basis to help support the operating fund.
Gloria, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. The actual endowment we have is just a little over $1 million. Is that correct? A ballpark? Yeah. About 1.5. That is an incredibly small endowment for a church this size, and in fact, a lot of churches a lot smaller have larger endowments than that. And what that means is our budget is almost entirely dependent on the generosity and giving of this congregation. So, thanks. Where were we? John was over here. Was there?
Well, first, congratulations on being very fiscally responsible. I have a couple questions regarding what was projected and what was actual significantly under education and communication. I don't know whether you ended up not needing to do what you planned to do or accomplished what you were planning to do under budget. So.
It was more, I was going to say the latter, but I forget which order you gave those things in. I think it was more that we accomplished the things that we were wanting to do differently. I'm sort of looking over here. One of the things, like in the past, there has been a big Lenten program that was really high budget. And we're still, we're doing a lot of programming during Lent, but we're doing it on a different sort of level with a different budget. So I think what we're doing is, I think in those instances, that was finding ways to do things that had a lower expense.
Hi.
Make sure you say your name, too, just so we can all get to know each other, Paula.
I'm Paula. I noticed that the vestry deleted all the outreach, and that was reducing the budget by almost 57,000, and added a line item to support these 4 things. What specifically will be done for that $54,000?
There's not a very specific item that we can point to right now that's going to cost, and we can't tell you exactly what it's going to cost. We looked at the budget after the initial budget was made and said, we have said for the next 2 years, our whole focus is going to be on, our main focus is going to be on making these 4 foundational goals happen so that we're steady, we've got our feet planted, and we're ready to launch. And we looked at that and said, we don't have a cent that we have allocated to support these 4 goals. So, for instance, we have PACES, which is the group that's looking at space. They are going to need some money to get started, and we need to have that money available. Something as simple as the banners, we had no money available for basic communication around what we were doing. So we decided that $50,000 would be available as programs as those 4 foundational goals needed it. They would come to the vestry or to finance. I'm not sure who's both. It's the process. So that money would be available.
Yeah, the thing I'll add to that is particularly around the second goal, which is supporting the staff and addressing issues of staff capacity. We're asking our staff right now to do a lot of work. Forming job descriptions, really looking at how we can work together in new ways. This is the kind of work, part of why this kind of work gets pushed off is because it's more work than just doing things the way that you normally do them. Particularly, we have an overload on our administrative assistant staff. So especially as we're asking staff to do even more work as we build the All Saints Church for the future, we may need to do something like provide more overtime hours for administrative staff or find a way that we're not even burning the staff out more by doing this work. And basically that money gives us the flexibility to do that. Other questions? Thoughts? Oh, Kathy's down here.
Thanks. My name's Kathy. I'm just wanting to make sure I understand that the outreach agencies that were eliminated in 2018 will continue to be not funded in 2019. Is that correct?
They were not eliminated in 2018. That we made those outreach grants and they're set forth on the report. They are eliminated in the 2019 budget.
I think I know what you're saying, Kathy. So there were some agencies that we asked to take a Sabbath for in the outreach grants for 2018. Is that what you're talking about?
So for example, let me see here.
So let me just talk.
So for example, we gave Union Station $10,000 in 16 and in 17, and then in 18 it says nothing.
Right. So the line item that has been put on hiatus for the budget for this year, that we're not funding this year, is all those outreach grants. Now, we maintain some discretionary outreach grants for when needs come up. And so for this year, no one is getting that funding. And that was part of the decision the vestry made. None of those organizations are getting funded by us this year.
And so some of these are agencies that we birthed here, and I'm wondering if we have given them a heads up that after years of support, we're on hiatus.
We are in communication with them, and I think part of what we talked about is this is a way that All Saints Church has supported really amazing organizations in the past, and this is an invitation for our community to look at other ways that we might support these organizations. Many of us support these organizations with our personal giving. There are opportunities to support these organizations through volunteer work, through advocacy. But to your question, yeah, we are in touch with these organizations, and frankly, part of it is letting them know that there is sort of this image out there that All Saints prints money. And that we can just sort of throw money into, and it's like, no, we're actually going through a lot of the same challenges that other organizations are. And so that's part of the conversation we're able to have with our community partners.
have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Quetzal. I wanted to look at the line item children, youth, and families. I noticed that there is a difference in 2018 between what was budgeted and actual, $5,000 more in actual. But then what's budgeted for 2019 is to keep it the same. I'm curious if there was conversation considering increasing what is budgeted for 2019 for that. As a parent of a young child, that's something certainly I'm interested in continuing the programs for families.
Absolutely, and this is something that we consulted with Jeremy Langell and Kelly O'Phelan on that budget line item. What happened in 2018, particularly in children's ministries, is we spent a lot of money buying supplies that are going to be able to be used for several years. And so that's where that money came out of. And so because that money was spent there, that money is not going to be needed to be spent this year. So actually what we hope we realize in that is getting more out of that money for programs, since it won't be able to be spent on supplies. Does that answer your question? Okay. It is a little after 11. So what I want to say, first of all, is thank you all for coming. Again, thank you so much to Gloria Pitzer and to Marianne Ahart and to Steve and everybody. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about these 4 foundational goals. We're going to be talking about how we can all get involved in this together and how we move forward together as All Saints Church. Thank you all for being here.